Hey everyone, it's Christina Johnson here, and we are talking right now this month about consistency. I hear so often from women that the reason why they struggle to lose weight is because they struggle with consistency. Whether it's, just not eating healthy consistently, not working out consistently, not being consistent with staying away from sugar. There's so many different forms it can take, but if we're not consistent with our habits, then it's really hard to lose weight and to keep it off once you do lose it. And so if you notice that consistency has been a theme for you, if that's been a struggle, then this series that I'm doing is going to be really helpful for you. So today's video is actually part 2 in the 5-part series I'm doing. And my whole goal is to help you figure out what is stopping you from being consistent. And your roadblock might be different than other people's. And so that's why I'm doing 5 videos. In each video, I'm going over one common pitfall a lot of people face. And so all you need to do is to listen to the video and figure out if this one applies to you. And if so, I'll also give you some tips on what to do differently so that you can start being more consistent. So part 1 went live last week, and that was all about not doing it alone. So many people are not consistent when they're going it alone, when they don't have support or accountability. So be sure to watch video 1 at some point. If you can't find it, just put part 1 in the comments, and I will be sure to send you the link so that you can watch that. But today's video, we are going to focus on a different obstacle to consistency, and that is restrictive diets. I think that most restrictive diets set us up to not be consistent. So I want to go over why they cause us to fail so you can kind of see if this relates to you or not. And then we'll talk about, well, what do we do instead? Because I know that when I was wanting to lose weight 15 years ago, I didn't know what else to do. And so I'm here to tell you there is a different way. So that's what we're going to focus on in today's video. If we haven't met yet, real quick, I'm Christina Johnson. I'm a transformational nutrition coach and founder of the Emerge Weight Loss Program. And that's the program that I developed to help women create a clean and mindful eating lifestyle so that they lose weight for good, feel better, have better health, have more energy, and a better relationship with food. Okay, so let's dive in. So the trap today that stops people from being consistent is going on restrictive diets. And there's a few problems with these. So let me know if you can relate to any of these. I think one big issue with restrictive diets is when they cut calories too much. And a lot of times people think, well, I just need to cut back more and then I'll get better results. But the problem is when we cut back calories too much, first of all, we feel hungry. And when we feel hungry, when our blood sugar gets low, we start to just want to eat anything in sight. It is really hard to have enough willpower to make healthy choices if you are feeling famished by the end of the day. And so oftentimes people will do really well during the day. They don't eat much. They think being hungry is a good sign. But then by late afternoon, by the time they get off work, they're just done. Like they can't do it anymore because they're so hungry. And so that's one issue, is if we cut calories too much and it leaves us hungry, it lowers our motivation and willpower to stick with it. Another common thing that restrictive diets do is they create nutritional deficiencies. And so basically, when you're not eating enough or you're cutting out like whole food groups, what happens is we become deficient in certain nutrients that your body needs to thrive. So, maybe you're deficient in nutrients that affect your energy, your mood. Maybe it actually creates cravings. There's certain vitamins and minerals when we're deficient in that we can then have cravings for. So if we're being too restrictive or restricting whole food groups, then sometimes we get these nutritional deficiencies, which affects our mood, our cravings, and just our ability to stick with a diet or a healthy eating plan. Another issue of restrictive diets is that they are so focused. Their primary goal is just to eat less. I mean, how many of you have felt that? How many of you have been wanting to lose weight and you think, I just need to eat less, fewer calories, fewer points, fewer carbs, whatever it might be. And the problem is when we're so focused on eating less, we miss the focus on balancing our hormones. And we really, really want to be balancing our hunger hormones. Because when you get your hunger hormones balanced, then all of a sudden you don't feel as hungry. You feel full, you feel satisfied, which means it is easier to be consistent. Going along with this is when we're focused on eating less, we're also not focused on keeping our blood sugar balanced. And when your blood sugar is going up and down throughout the day, which it often is if you're on any type of traditional diet, then what happens is we have more cravings, we have energy crashes, and all of that makes it hard to be consistent. Okay, another problem with most restrictive diets is that they're just so complicated. And this isn't all of them, but a lot of them. We end up spending so much time and thought and effort trying to figure out, your macros, or figure out, am I getting enough fat? Am I eating too many carbs? Have I hit my calorie limit for the day? We spend so much time and effort figuring it out that eventually you just get worn out and exhausted. It's not realistic to keep doing a complicated system like that long term. And so I think that's one of the issues with a lot of diets, is that they're just too complicated to be sustainable. Another issue, I kind of briefly alluded to this, is that most of them just aren't realistic long term. I have a lot of people tell me that they've done keto before. And many times they'll say, yeah, keto's worked. It worked for a while. I lost a lot of weight, but usually the weight's come back on. And what they often say is it's just not realistic. It's not realistic to do long term. And it's not just keto. There's all kinds of plans that are either so complicated or so restrictive that it's not realistic to keep doing it. And what happens then is as soon as we go off that plan, then we gain the weight back. So those are, a handful of the reasons why traditional diets don't work. And the hard, unfortunate reality is that 95% of diets fail. So they have all these traditional diets, any kind of traditional diet, they have a 95% failure rate. And I think one of the big reasons is because they set us up to fail. They're structured in such a way that they leave you hungry, dealing with cravings, feeling restricted, feeling deprived, and that just makes it really, really hard to stick with them. So let me know in the comments, can you relate to this at all? As we're relating back to the idea of consistency, is one of the reasons why you've struggled to be consistent because of these restrictive diets, because you felt hungry or deprived or dealt with cravings. So I'd love to know that in the comments. So just let me know. You can even just type a me if you relate to that. And if you want to share anything else, that would be great. But let's move forward. So we kind of know why restrictive diets don't work. And so what we need to figure out then is if those restrictive diets don't work, what can we do instead? Because in all honesty, 15-ish years ago, maybe a little longer, when I was going from one diet to the next, I did Weight Watchers, I did low carb, I did counted calories, I tried all those things. And the reality was I thought that's, the only option. I didn't realize there was something else that I could do to lose weight. And so that's what I really want to show you in the rest of this video is, what do we do instead? If diets have a 95% failure rate, what do we need to do to be part of the 5% success story? So here's what I think and what I've seen work. Basically, in order to lose weight and keep it off, we need to find a way of eating and a plan that solves 5 key problems. So here are the 5 problems. And so basically, anytime you're trying to lose weight, improve your health, we want to make sure that whatever plan you go on addresses these 5 issues. And so these are things you can use it to kind of assess if this is a good plan for you to help you lose weight or not. So number 1, the plan needs to feel realistic to maintain long term. Because, oftentimes diets will say, well, just do this for, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, and you'll lose all this weight. Sometimes they have a maintenance plan attached, sometimes they don't. But the reality is whatever that plan is that got you to lose the weight, it is really hard to maintain it long term. And so my philosophy is let's lose weight in the same way we're going to keep it off. So that's the first thing. We want to find a plan that feels realistic to maintain long term. If it doesn't, I encourage you, find a different plan. Okay, number 2 is the plan that's going to help you be consistent and lose weight for good. It needs to be able to have some flexibility. If the plan that you're on makes you feel like you have to be perfect all the time, if you feel like you have to be all in, and if you eat one cookie or, one piece of pizza, then you've blown it, like that is not a plan that you'll be able to be consistent with. So whatever plan you follow, whatever weight loss approach you follow, it needs to be something where it allows for flexibility. For example, my theory, what we do in Emerge, is we eat for fuel 90% of the time. But we also talk about, because it's a lifestyle plan, we talk about, 10% of the time, how can you eat for joy without sabotaging your results? 10% of the time, how can you make room for dessert on date night, or going out with friends and maybe just choosing what looks really good instead of the healthy option? And so the weight loss plan we have, it has to incorporate some room for flexibility. Or even there's some weeks where you're just so busy, there's no time to meal plan and cook healthy meals. So how can you have a little bit of flexibility those weeks to just do the best you can and get by? Okay, the third thing, a good sustainable weight loss plan that you can be consistent on needs to help you eat in a way that balances your hunger hormones so that you feel full and satisfied. This is critical. The plan must help you balance your hormones, and your hunger hormones in particular, so that you eat a meal and feel full and satisfied for 3, 4, 5 hours. It also needs to balance the hunger hormones and blood sugar so that your cravings go away. Because I promise you, I hear it over and over from the women in Emerge, once we balance their hunger hormones and blood sugar, they find it is so much easier to be consistent, because all of a sudden they feel like they have 10 times more willpower because they're not hungry, they're not having cravings, they're not constantly thinking about food. And so that is a good marker of a good weight loss plan, is when it gets rid of your hunger and cravings. Okay, number 4, the plan also, I guess I kind of touched on this one already. I was ahead of myself, but it needs to balance your blood sugar. So instead of just focusing on eat less, only eat these foods, it really needs to make sure that you're keeping your blood sugar in a good range, because that's going to avoid energy crashes. It's going to avoid mood shifts. It's going to avoid cravings, extra cravings being created. So when you balance your blood sugar, again, you're going to feel like you have a lot more self-control and can be more consistent. All right, last thing is that a good sustainable plan that helps you be consistent needs to be simple and uncomplicated. So, I can't tell you how many times women tell me that the plan they follow, they get so exhausted by tracking food all the time, by thinking about food, by weighing and measuring things. It just gets to be a lot. And so we don't need to track every bite of food all the time. We don't need to be constantly thinking about whether or not you can eat something. There is a way to approach weight loss in a way that feels a lot simpler and easier and not as complicated. Okay, so those are the 5 things that I encourage you, kind of like a filter. It's 5 questions you can ask yourself, before you start any new weight loss plan. Just ask these questions of yourself. So quick recap. Does this plan feel realistic to do long term? Does it give me some flexibility so I don't have to be perfect every day? Does it help me balance my hunger hormones so I feel full and satisfied? Does it help me balance my blood sugar so I get rid of cravings, have more energy? And is it simple and uncomplicated so that it's easy to follow? So those are a few things to keep in mind. And I'm curious, if you had a plan that you could say yes to all those questions, do you think you would be more likely to be consistent? I'd love to know. Just put a yes in the comments if you feel like that would help you be more consistent. And if you have any additional thoughts to share, I would love to know that as well. Okay, so let's get a little bit more specific. Let's look at four kind of steps that we can take to create a sustainable, healthy lifestyle that you can be consistent with. So, and this is what we do in Emerge. This is kind of the process that I developed Emerge on. So one, I highly recommend you start first by focusing on a foundation of clean eating. So we want to be eating real whole foods that are full of all the nutrients your body needs to be healthy. And you want to just nourish your body with all those good, healthy whole foods. And while we're eating a lot of good, healthy whole foods, we want to reduce the amount of processed foods, sugar, artificial sweeteners, flour-based products that we're eating. So that first step, you'll start to feel more full and satisfied, and that's a great foundation. But step two, we need to take clean eating one step further. Because clean eating is amazing, I don't think it's the full answer. And in my experience, it's not. So the second step then is to take that clean eating foundation and let's figure out how to balance our meals so that your hunger hormones are balanced and your blood sugar is balanced. So we need to be eating the right combination of foods 3 meals a day so that you can eat a meal and feel full and satisfied. This is what will turn down the cravings, get rid of all that food noise, and make it so much easier to be consistent. I think step 1 and 2 really plays a big role in feeling easier, like having more confidence that you can be in control of food and make good choices consistently. But then I think the third piece is, there is the factor that we need to make sure we're not eating too much. Even if you're eating good, healthy whole foods, we can still overdo it, and that can get in the way of weight loss. But we don't need to follow a complicated system of tracking and analyzing our food. What I recommend and what has been really effective for women in Emerge is learning how to listen to your body's hunger cues. Because when your hunger hormones are balanced, your body will tell you how much food you need to eat. And the goal is to eat when we're hungry and stop when we're full. And I know I'm making this seem, maybe a little simple and easy. And I know it takes some work to get there. But I promise you that when you use this approach, it's so much easier and less complicated because you don't need to track your food all the time. You're just learning to use your body's wisdom. And then lastly, the last step to creating a consistent, healthy lifestyle is to give yourself permission to make exceptions. So this means really working through, this is doing the mindset work to work through perfectionism, all or nothing thinking. It means working through any thoughts you have of if you eat one cookie, you've blown your diet, because that type of thinking will cause you to throw in the towel and completely disrupt your consistency. So we need to work on that thinking so that we can give ourselves permission to make exceptions here and there. This is not saying, I'm not recommending a cheat meal, I'm not recommending a cheat day, anything like that, but I'm saying we can intentionally plan to give ourselves exceptions on date night, on social occasions, because we want to, but we need to learn how to do it without all that negative mindset stuff coming up. So we need to learn how to do it so you're not feeling guilty afterwards. Okay. So those are the 4 steps that I have seen work over and over to help women be more consistent with eating healthy so that they can lose weight and keep it off. And if you've struggled with consistency, my takeaway or homework item for you, I have a couple things. The first thing would be just to take a moment to reflect on whether or not the approach and the diets you've gone on in order to lose weight, have they actually set you up for failure? Have the diets you've been on, are they the cause of your lack of consistency? Were they not set up in a way that left you full and satisfied? Did they leave you hungry, dealing with cravings, deprived, feeling low on energy? And if so, if you see that might be an obstacle to your consistency, then we need to figure out a different approach to take. And if you are ready to make lasting change, the Emerge Weight Loss Program is here and ready for you, and it's designed to help you build a healthy lifestyle that will stick. So definitely reach out anytime if you want to know more about that. But I also have an upcoming workshop coming up next week, Tuesday, October 15th. And in that workshop, I'm going to go over 3 principles of clean eating to help you figure out what to eat and when to eat so that it's easier to lose weight. And so these principles, I'm going to dive deeper into kind of the 4 steps I just shared with you at the end to give you some more practical insights and information about what do you eat, how often do you eat, when do you eat in order to lose weight with clean eating. So we'll kind of dive deep into the whole clean eating topic. And my goal is to show you how to make this work without feeling hungry and deprived and dealing with cravings. So if you are interested in more information about that workshop, like I said, there's no cost to come. It's Tuesday, October 15th, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time. But just put the word workshop in the comments and I will reach out to you. I can send you a link to get you registered so that you are able to join us for that. I would love to have you come and learn more about how to be consistent with your health and weight loss goals. All right, if you have any questions or comments, just put them in the comments and I will be back next week with part 3 in this series. So make sure you stay tuned all month long so that you can get a really good picture and understanding of what is stopping you from consistently reaching your goals. All right, have a great night. Bye.